Hey everyone, this is Wei and welcome back. Let's do another Overwatch character, and this time I'm going to draw a tracer. So let's get started and I'll talk about the process along the way. Alright, so let's draw this character. It's a pretty cool pose. We can actually start just kind of rough out, like the generic pose of this. So let's say this is her head coming down to the shoulders. Okay, and then we can do, let's see, just keep in mind the slant of the shoulder because it is important. And her arms come up. Let's see, her main body is here. Okay, drawing in her breast. And there's just whatever, I don't know what you call this thing in her center that she's wearing. I'm sure you guys know if you guys are game players. And it goes straight down to her body. And she kind of like got a little hip action right here. Got a little, swing on this side, so it's really important to get that, or else you're gonna miss the pose. Okay, and then now we can do, let's say, her arm. All right. There's lots of ways to do this, so it's like when I look at this, sometimes like where do I start? It's just you can do like a skeleton outline or what have you, and all kinds of stuff. But I'm kind of semi blocking and kind of measuring at the same time. So here's her arm coming down. We can do her hand first, right? Because we know where her hand's gonna be in her hip. So it's kind of like this, kind of like a knuckle almost, right? That's your hand. So once you have the hand, now you can actually fill in the arm, right? Because it's gonna connect up here. So I wasn't too far off to begin with. And it's got this huge thing, whatever you call this stuff. I haven't played this game, so I don't know all the technical aspects, but I just do like the design of this. It is kind of cool. All right, so here's one arm, and then we can move on to the other arm. I was just checking the camera. Make sure I'm in frame, because this is kind of like a full upper body thing. All right, so now, let's see. We can measure from this side. See, I'm measuring kind of like the angle where it meets up with the other arm. Okay, so this is a way to kind of like to double check. It's like if I take this point here and I go all the way across from her body, I know it's gonna go through this thing, kind of up, and then it's gonna go through here, and then this is where her arm is. So those are the things you do when you draw. It's just a matter of just measuring stuff. So I'm measuring her arm. If I go from this hand, if I go straight horizontal, it kind of hits the other hand right at the bottom, right around here. Okay, here's that, and then this arm, and then here's that little funky thing again, coming out really big. Okay, so if you're drawing and you're not getting it accurate, just keep going, because it does take time. The more you draw, the more accurate you're gonna get. So that right here, her hand, I know where this little, almost like a corset thing, vest coming down, kind of hits it like that. And then now you have this shape going up. All right, so you're just kind of seeing little things. Let's see, am I still in frame? All right. And then this goes straight down. And we lose it from the reference. Here's a crotch area with the two belts. All right, so let's move back to the top. And see, we skipped a lot of little detail here because the details are too small, right? But now we can put them in. So let's say, let's start from, all right, we can start from this thing. All right, let's go. Here's the little center. And I'm refining a little bit. Now this thing goes up. This little piece here goes up to her shoulder, to her armpit area, right? So you just kind of measure that so we know it's this tall. And then this thing curves this way because it's slightly 3/4 view. Okay, and then once we have this, now we can go down to this path. This thing goes up like this. It kind of cups it. Okay, and now here's the other one. Then let's see, a breast right here, and then the straps. One here. There's one that going this way. Kind of like that. So if I'm drawing these straps and I'm like, maybe I'm lost I can double check things. I'm not sure how high to go. I can always come back up here and just, now I can start maybe putting in the collar so I can see a little bit better. Because the collar is a big shape. So the collar going up to the neck. See the collar, yeah, folds right around here, you see, right around there. So I'm comparing it to that, right? And then the collar comes down here all the way to your shoulder, past your shoulder. And if you measure like from this point of the collar to that one, you know, you make a line there, it's that kind of slant, right? So that's how you kind of can double check if what you're doing is correct. All right. All right, so let's go down up to her head. Now this is gonna be a little bit more difficult because now we're kind of working backwards, and then we gotta do her head. So we can break it up. Let's see, her ears right here. Okay, and then we can break up the visor area because that's a big area. So we can do a line for the head. Gotta be a little bit be careful with this line, because if you don't do the correct slant, then it's gonna be off, right? So sometimes, you know, you don't want to go by those things too much, because if you're off, it really throws you off. All right, so we can do the visor. So the height of the visor is almost the height of her face right here. So we know it's gonna be probably around that big. Okay, just roughly. Hopefully we can get that correct. It's got a very thick outline. Okay, so now we have the visor, and then her hair. Let's see, we can do, comes up here. I'm doing this big block right here, her hair, this block. This thing comes up, it's got an angle down like this. And then one little one, we can actually skip that for now. Okay, let's see, and then another big chunk coming down here. Okay, and then this one goes up. And then this part goes straight up. That. So you saw how I break things down, you know, so you can tackle in chunks. So this is probably a little bit off. Yeah, this needs to go up. Okay, close enough, right? Let me erase this, it's throwing me off. All right, so now we have the visor. Now we gotta do the face area. This is probably the most detailed part, and it's probably a little bit, it will be the hardest part to draw, obviously. It's a lot more detail. So we can draw the bottom of the face or the upper of the face first. It doesn't really matter because we've already broken up the face into two. So we can always just work from anywhere we want. So let's just do her eye. Let's see, I'm gonna outline one here, outline another one here. So it's very anime style, very big. So it's almost like an egg shape. See this line here, bottom of a lid. Let's get that kind of shape. Then the eyeball in the middle. And then once we have that one, let's go. It's got very deep sockets here. All right. Looks like it might be a little bit further apart, but let's just try. I can't put my head over the camera paper, so sometimes it gets a little hard to measure. All right, so let's see, that's her eye. And then let's go her nose. So her nose, if you look at the visor, like if you go from end to end of the visor, you know her nose is kind of, the bottom of the nose kind of meets up. We can actually just draw like a triangle shape for now. The two nostrils, because the shading will define the nose. Okay, and then we're gonna go down to her lip, from side to side, kind of like that. Okay, her lower lip. And now we can adjust her face a little bit, now that we have her mouth. Okay, so I'm using a 6B, so it's a little bit, you can see the point is pretty thick, so it's a little bit more difficult to get a fine line. But whatever pencil you're using, it might be a little bit harder. You get a cleaner line. But I just kind of want to draw anyways. I'm not too crazy about doing a really uptight illustration. Okay, so I'm just trying to showing you the process. So once we have this is it's a decent outline, of the drawing, and we can actually go in now and sketch in cleaner lines, and start putting in more detail and probably some shading. Okay. See, like this part's a little bit off. I can adjust for it. Should be a little bit wider. So now we can go in and sketch. It's got this handle here. This is kind of an odd design right here. I don't know what's that thing's for, because it looks like a really painful belt. Not the kind of stuff you want next to your head. A big block of metal. You turn your head and give yourself a concussion. All right, so at this point, then it's just a lot more shading. Well, let's do the face then. There's a lot of little subtle shading, and I'll probably do that off camera. Okay, so this shade's here. This part's darker. Again, I have a pretty blunt pencil right now. This part's darker. I could probably adjust for some shades, but I'm just gonna go for it. Okay, this part's darker, so I'm just trying to see what are little darker things and just start hitting it. This is darker here. And then her eyes, we can do the eyes. Trying to put her eyes a little bit closer together. A little crease up here. A little bit of shading down here. All right. Very dark. Then other eyeball. Okay. Very simple, nothing too complicated. And the thing about these kind of drawings is it's kind of more like an illustration than like a drawing, right? So it's a little bit tighter, and I'm not too crazy about it, because it's illustrations takes more time and it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit touchy. I tend to like to do things a little bit freer. Just kind of let things go. So her nose, just a very simple shading, just darken a little bit, and since I'm drawing it pretty small and my pencil is pretty blunt, it's good and bad, it's like a couple of strokes and you can almost shade in a feature already. So that's the good part. The bad part is you gotta be a little bit careful because it is so blunt. So lower the underneath the mouth, okay, and then the chin, the side of the cheek a little bit darker. And underneath chin, always dark. Okay, and then the visor, let's give it some shading because it is this needs to be darker, so you can distinguish from the face and the visor. Okay. All right, so you can see it's getting there. All right, so I'm gonna finish this thing up off camera so I don't have to talk, and I can just kind of get my head a little bit closer to the paper. All right, and then but it's pretty much the same process. So I'm gonna finish this off, and I'll be right back to show you how it looks. Alright, I'm back, and this is my final drawing for this tracer character. And as you can see, the process, it's actually fairly simple. It's mostly a lot of line work and some really quick, simple shading. And actually, I can probably show you the whole thing if I turn it a little bit like this. So the shading is really simple. That's one thing you want to try to do, is just trying to minimize it, because it is kind of like an illustration. So with any given part, just try to just sketch outline it, and then just start shading it real quick. Just like that, a few quick shading, and that can pretty much represents the shape. As opposed to going in and really doing little fine detail work. Just forget about that kind of stuff. It's a lot better to sketch this way, because you can always push more detail if you wanted to. But this way, you get a really good base, and you get a better understanding of how how to work your pencil. How to work those thick strokes and things like that. And overall, to see the big shapes first, and the major dark areas and light areas. And so it's a really fun way to sketch. Obviously not very realistic, but it's a very good base, so you can move on from there. So hope you guys like this little illustration, and just give it a shot, see how it goes, and I will see you next time.